The best way to improve your bench press is to do bench press, but eventually that will fail. So here's some tips and tricks to get your bench press up. So we're going to assume that you have a few years of consistent lifting with consistent progress that's come to a stall. We're going to assume that you've got your leg drive down and that you've got suitable footwear like the Milos to push through the ground. So these are some finer points to push your bench up just a little bit more, or to add into your training to help increase this bench press. We're doing supporting exercises like an incline press, say at a 45-degree angle, to work the upper chest, to work the front delts, to get some more activation on the triceps. We're doing overhead press to take the chest out, to build bigger triceps, bigger shoulders. This needs to be a certain percentage of your bench press. So if your overhead press is lacking, this is something you could drive up. I've got a structural balance spreadsheet that you can purchase that will show you what percentage your overhead press needs to be compared to your bench press. If this is lacking, this is something to drive up. You're working your triceps, doing a variation of different tricep pushdowns and variation of tricep exercises to help build up your triceps independently of your bench press. With all that down, we're going to use something like Stance. Stance is a velocity-based training device, and it has actually a really cool feature which will show you where your sticking point is. So your sticking point on bench is either on the chest, midway, or on lockout. And I'm going to show you how to help all these. So my one in particular, it's the middle point. So we'll start with that. So for the middle section of your bench, you can do what's called a board press. You can use one of these blocks here that attaches onto the bar. So style one would be putting the block on and doing a pause rep. This takes the stretch reflex out of that middle part of the movement and really forces me to build up strength in that middle part of the movement. You can alternate the block to different heights as you need, but pick one, do it for a 3-week block, see if that improves, then change it to either a deeper or more shallower bench press. The next variation would be a touch and go. This helps build the stretch reflex from that point. Something else to really help your triceps and your lockout is called a pin press. So you set the pins quite high, so you're only doing the last portion of the bench press, and it's actually, because with the pins there, it's quite safe to do 100% of your 1 rep max, and sometimes you can get 2 reps with that because it's just the lockout position, and it really helps build that tricep strength. Also gets everything else used to lifting that really heavy weight in a really safe manner. So if it's your tricep strength that's letting you down, something I like is something like a slingshot. So what a slingshot allows you to do is get a little bit momentum off the chest, meaning that your triceps can push and lock out a little bit more. You can get an extra few reps with a heavy weight, but meaning your triceps really have to work. Something else that helps nearly every single part of your bench press is called accommodating resistance. It's using resistance bands or something like chains. And what happens is, as you're pushing the weight up, it stretches and it adds more load onto the bar, so it gets heavier as you push through. This teaches your body to drive with more power. So you generate more power and you're continuing to go faster, a bit like a rocket going faster and faster and faster. Because what happens is sometimes we limit ourselves because there's an end point. This allows you just to push really hard, which is really important when it's really maximal weights we're doing. When we're just doing sets and reps, you can just kind of do your sets and reps. But when it's with accommodating resistance, it allows you to push as hard as you possibly can all the way to the top, so there's no slowdown. This helps with tricep strength, this helps you get off the chest, and it helps the middle portion of your bench press as well. And you can use a combination of chains and bands. So something else that will really help your bench press is heavy dumbbell work. Reason being is it's more unstable. You've got more range of motion for your arms and shoulders to go in, meaning your body has to create stability. The more stability, the more power you can produce. So power comes from stability. It's the reason we have our legs wide in the bench press and we drive through our legs. But with dumbbells, it's automatically got instability inbuilt. So when you're doing dumbbell work, it's going to help create more stability. So when you get onto your straight bar, the straight bar is going to feel easier. It's why you always do a bit less with dumbbells than you can with overall weight. Say you can bench press 100, it's really difficult to bench press 250s. That being said, you can also use a straight bar, get some resistance bands with a heavy kettlebell or a heavy weight on it, bouncing on it. This is going to cause instability, meaning you have to lock and create your form to be absolutely perfect. You've created that perfect form, you're going to add power to your bench press. You're going to be completely punished if you go out of alignment. Another tip is do the opposite of what you're currently doing. So low reps, 1 to 5, build neural connection in the body. Think of your muscle as the land and your neural connections like little cities. If you have a small island and you have loads of cities on it, there's nowhere else to build. So the only thing you do is build more land. That's building more muscle. So that's doing slightly higher rep work, 5 to 30, somewhere in that range. So if you've not been doing that, move yourself over to doing that. On the other hand, if you have loads of land but very few cities on it, you need to do more of your neural work, your 1 to 5. So this is why you have a hypertrophy part to your training and you have a strength part to your training, and you want to mix those in. I particularly like the strength stuff, hate the hypertrophy work. That's what I need to do to get to the next level. Something else you're going to find useful in your bench press is switching up the bars, particularly if you're getting beat up and you're getting sore shoulders and getting sort of weird impingements or even elbow problems. So this bar here from Gym Master is like a copy of the Kabuki Cadillac bar. It's beveled so you can go deeper into the chest, and the handles are angled. There's 3 different widths of handles to choose from. They're angled, which makes it slightly nicer on the shoulder. So something nobody talks about when training is add a little bit more fun into your training, like this bar from Factory Weights. It's called Dino Bar, and it's a kind of copy of the Squeeze bar. It's gonna work muscles a little bit differently than other bars, and it's just gonna give you just a little bit more variety in your training. So you're only as strong as the weakest part of your lift, and for a lot of people, that's your wrist. So something like a wrist strap, these ones are from Cerberus, are really good to protect your wrist. It helps send a neural signal that you're safe. If your wrist feels wobbly, your nervous system will downregulate the amount of power you can produce. If you have more stability, more structure in your wrist, you'll be able to produce more power. So this is called the Bench Buddy. This one's from Primal Strength. It's designed by Gavin Laird. It goes on your bench like that. You've got a headrest here. You got this peaked bit here. There's kind of layers of foam and stuff in there. And it allows your spine to split over this, allowing a deeper chest rest. You can use a half a foam roller as well if you really want to, but this one just straps onto the bench beautifully. Some of the things mentioned in this video were Stance, a velocity-based tracker. I'll link it below. It's currently in beta, but check it out. It's very, very cool, particularly for finding out that sticking point. The Freak Milos are a strength training shoe. You're going to just develop more power, squats, deadlifts, and through your bench press. Another thing I mentioned was my structural balance spreadsheet, which is awesome. It's actually very, very cheap. It's down there below. Check it out. It's got your balance for everything. If you are struggling with a lift, it will show you where you need to be, whether you hit that or not. Right, I hope you found those tips helpful.